Judging by the fact that there is a wall of text on the board, that means it's news of the week and that we have a lot of things to go over in terms of news of the week. And it's also Wednesday, because usually Wednesday is where news of the week is going to be filled up in terms of the whole board full of text. So we begin with Inter Miami, who currently owns the record as the team that has the most appearance in the news of the week. Like, I swear, every single episode of the news of the week, going all the way back to right around when they were announced to come to MLS next season, they have been in my news of the week every single episode. And usually they are there because they are rumored to get a big name kind of player, and this news is no exception, with them rumored to make a bid for Boca Junior starlet Auguestin Almendra, and I heard the price is going to be $10 million and 70% of the sale on rights that Boca Junior, of course, would be having. And, I don't know if this one's going to be true, because anytime when Inter Miami is rumored with a big player, you obviously going to have to take it with a grain of salt, because, most of the time when they rumor with a big player, it hasn't really turned out well. And also, this is a bid to try to get a Boca Junior player that is one of the stars of the team. And we already saw how when the Galaxy got Christian Pavone, how tough that was to try to get him to MLS and try to get him with a club. And that's even after Pavone was already kind of out of favor at Boca Juniors, and yet the Galaxy still have a lot of trouble in terms of it. So I doubt that this is going to be the case again if Inter Miami wants to get him. And in some way, even though they are going to pay $10 million, which is a lot of money, and they will only get 30% of the sale on price if they, of course, decide to sell him to another club, and that Boca Junior will get 70% of the right. I still think that's a little bit too low in terms of the amount that Boca Junior is going to sell. I'm assuming they're going to probably sell around 15 or 20 million range, and at that point, that's when it's going to be interesting to see whether or not if Inter Miami will match that kind of price, and that this could maybe be a record-breaking transfer in MLS if it does happen. So the next news I'm going to talk about is something that I kind of mentioned in the past couple of video. And that, of course, is that we have two Real Madrid starlet, Gareth Bale and Luka Modric, is rumored to come to MLS. Gareth Bale has been rumored to go to the Galaxy and Inter Miami, while Luka Modric has been interest of going to DC United and Inter Miami. And, I mean, I don't know. I don't think either of them, I still don't believe either of them will come to MLS, because Modric, his contract, I actually found out that isn't going to end until 2021. So, with his contract isn't ending at Real Madrid, I don't think he's going to be leaving. And Gareth Bale, he's only 30 years old, and I know there's been, for the past 5 and 6 years, there's been a lot of talk of Gareth Bale eventually leaving to Real Madrid to go to another club. I didn't think that other club will be in MLS, and especially since he's only 30 years old, and that I feel like it is still way too early for him to just think about, I've done enough in Europe, might as well just go to MLS to kind of enjoy my last couple of years. Even though he has pretty much won everything with Real Madrid, I still think that, since he's only 30 and that he's still a couple of years left, I just think this is still way too early for him to come to MLS. But you never know. We shall see the club that's been interested in what kind of price that they're going to pay. Obviously, they're going to be paying a lot of money to get both of those guys. I mean, Real Madrid is not a club that is... Real Madrid is one, if not the biggest club in the world. And they are not going to ask for peanuts kind of amount of transfer fee to get both of those players. So you are expecting a lot of money to trying to get two of the best player in the world to your club. So yeah, speaking of the Galaxy, they are also rumored to get another European superstar, and this is something that I think I had to mention every single year, and I'm gonna just say the same thing as I would say every single year when I mentioned that there's a rumor that Chicharito is coming to MLS, and the my reaction to that is he's not coming to MLS. And even if he's coming to MLS, there's really like no point of having him here too, unless you want him to just kind of seize out his career and doesn't be as effective as he used to be. I mean, I have heard when he is currently at Sevilla, he hasn't done well at all with that club. He's kind of a shell of his former self that he used to be when he was at Man United. Yeah, I mean, I think if the Galaxy are going to get Chicharito, and I heard they're going to try to get him for $10 million, which is an absolute overpay if they're going to get him for that amount of money, it's a bad idea. And, whether if he does come to MLS or not, I just don't think that, a couple of years ago, maybe he could be effective, but nowadays, I don't know. Like, I just think that he is pretty much a little bit washed up, and that I think maybe he'll have like one good decent season left when he comes to MLS, and then he basically will flame out. And that the Galaxy kind of learned a similar situation with Zlatan. I mean, I know Zlatan, even during his last year, he scored tons of goals, but when you look at how effective was the Galaxy with Zlatan, there's been a couple of games that they weren't really effective, and that Zlatan was really just kind of was really the problem for the Galaxy, where you're just so focused on giving the ball to him that sometimes you just look very one-dimensional and look very predictable in terms of the attack. And no wonder why the Galaxy at point of last season really start to struggle because of how one-dimensional they are. And if this is going to be the same case, if they're going to get Chicharito and they're going to focus only on him and trying to feed the ball to him all the time, that is a absolute terrible idea. And I think it's going to be even worse than what happened when they have Zlatan there with the Galaxy. Now, speaking of the Galaxy, there is one player that they have made it official that they're going to be on the roster this season, and that of course is Daniel Acosta, who they acquire from Orlando City. This is part of some depth that they need in terms of the defensive area, which anytime when they decide to sign players in the defensive area, I'm definitely kind of a little bit happy that the Galaxy are doing that, because that is something that they desperately needed. And Daniel Acosta is a guy that, he did all right with Orlando City. I think maybe Lions fans feel like he could have done better in terms of that fullback position, and his talent that definitely was a high potential when he come into the league from RSL. Didn't really kind of shine for Orlando City, but hopefully now when he is with the Galaxy, that might be something different, and that at least I think he is a very, very good piece, even if you're not going to make him a starting player for every single game, and that he can of course come off the bench and perform very well. Atlanta United is rumored to get Fernando Meza, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from Necaxa to replace LGP. So obviously LGP a couple of weeks ago has officially made his departure to go to Tijuana, and now it seemed like Atlanta is already rumored for him to get a replacement. And this is the thing I said a couple of weeks ago when LGP was leaving Tijuana, and that I did say that don't be surprised if it's not going to take a whole lot of days for Atlanta to quickly say that, well, it's tough that we lost LGP, but here, we already have someone that we can think that can replace him. And from what I heard from Fernando Meza, I have heard that he's a very decent player and that he's just as good as what LGP is in that center back role. So hopefully Atlanta can of course get him, and that this rumor would be true, but this is still kind of like an early stage of the rumor, and that they just kind of report that he is going to be joining Atlanta from Necaxa. The Portland Timbers is also rumored to get Polish striker Jaroslaw Nesgoda. I think that's how you pronounce. I mean, anytime when there's a Polish player that is rumored, I always kind of cringe in terms of my pronunciation to their name, because it's very hard to pronounce their name. And I kind of get better once I start hearing announcer how to kind of announce their name, and that's when I started to pronounce it correctly. But if I didn't pronounce it correctly the first time, I do apologize that. And by the way, I want to kind of thank a viewer that actually commented a couple of weeks ago in my news of the week, and I think he was a Timbers fan, that he says that they were rumored to get this Polish striker, and that maybe this is the Polish striker that they are trying to get. And obviously, I think this is clearly a replacement for Brian Fernandez, and that, the Timbers, they really need some striker depth in terms of their team. Like, Jeremy Ebobisse is really the only number 9 on this team, and that I feel like, as much as Ebobisse had a great season last year with 11 goals last season, which is his career high, I just think they need another piece in terms of the striker position. And hopefully, if they're going to get him, which I heard that he was a very decent player. He actually came from Legia Warsaw, which we have seen before. Players that come from Legia Warsaw has done very well in this league, and hopefully they of course would get him. And it will also be interesting to see whether they're going to get him on a DP contract or a TAM contract. The money that I heard about might made him a designated player, but I won't be surprised if he could be a TAM player. And that, I think Portland does have one more DP spot open, so there isn't really like a kind of tough decision of whether or not they're gonna get him on a TAM or DP contract, because they obviously have that DP spot open. FC Cincinnati is also thinking about signing their own DP striker, and they're actually thinking of getting Yuya Kubo as a designated player in their team. And when I first heard this news, I was thinking, who the hell is Yuya Kubo? Well, it turns out he's actually a Japanese striker that's playing in Europe, and I think he was playing with Ghent. I think that was the club that he's currently playing, and he wasn't really a regular starter, which makes me very concerned when I read that sentence, because it feels like FC Cincinnati, they, if they're going to sign him, I just fear that they didn't learn the same mistake that they did with Fernando Adi, where they thought Fernando Adi could be a decent player coming into the league, and that they decided to give him DP kind of money, and it turns out it was a massive flop. And now you got a guy that doesn't get a lot of minutes in Europe, and that you don't know if he is going to be productive coming to MLS, and you're giving him DP kind of money. I mean, this does not look very promising for FC Cincinnati, but we shall see if that is going to be the case, and whether if they're going to sign him as a DP player. But moving on, it's time for me to talk about the numerous players that got a contract extension from their respective clubs. So I think from now on, for the rest of this offseason, when I do news of the week, instead of just talk about one individual player getting a contract extension for their respective club, I'm just going to combine in terms of talking all the players that got contract extension from their respective club, because it kind of saved me space in terms of putting things on the board, and I don't have to put it one by one in terms of the bullet points. So this week we got Harry Shipp, Jesse Gonzalez, Tristan Blackman, and Marcelo Silva all got contract extension from their respective club. Harry Shipp, of course, got a contract extension from the Seattle Sounders, which I don't think that was a big surprise, because he's one of the fan favorites at the Seattle Sounders, and that he can also be a good, decent player coming off the bench. Same goes with Jesse Gonzalez, who actually got a 4-year contract to stay at FC Dallas. And I think I mentioned before that there was a rumor that is going to be the case. And this week it was made official that Jesse Gonzalez is going to be staying at FC Dallas at least for 4 years, unless they decide to sell him off to Europe in these upcoming years. Tristan Blackman, he is going to get a 2-year contract extension with LAFC, and I guess LAFC just love their backline so much that they kind of brought back everybody from that backline. Doing this off season, I don't think there's any player in that backline actually left their team. And I guess, since their backline was very decent last year, and that, I know they kind of left out a couple of names at that backline when they announced the end of the season roster, they kind of have some second form, like, you know what, let's just bring back our whole backline, and that since they were decent when we had that amazing season last year, why not just keep all of them for next season too? And Marcelo Silva is the final guy that I'm going to mention that got a contract extension from their respective club. Marcelo Silva is going to at least stay another year for RSL. Good, decent depth piece for them in terms of the defensive area for RSL. So, yeah, these are all the players that got their contract extension for their respective club. But now moving on in terms of the next news, and that is NYCFC has officially secured a permanent deal for Keaton Parks. And technically, I was not going to include this news because I kind of said in the last video that they were very close in terms of getting Keaton Parks on a permanent deal, and that they of course would make this permanent transfer from Benfica. And today it's officially announced that he is going to, well, it's officially announced that they have secured the permanent deal, and now Keaton Parks is going to be with NYCFC and no longer going to be on loan from Benfica. DC United rejected Bundesliga 2 club Dynamo Dresden bid for Russell Canals, and I'm not quite sure if I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but a couple of weeks ago there was a rumor that Dynamo Dresden, a club in the second division of German football, is thinking about bidding for Russell Canals, and that was kind of interesting because as much as I know Russell Canals is a player that wants to go to Europe, I don't know if going to the second division of German football and going to a club that is in relegational form in Bundesliga 2 is the best idea for you to make the jump to go to Europe. And it seemed like DC feel like that might be the case, and they decided to reject the bid, and we will see whether or not if Dynamo Dresden is still going to be interest, or if Russell Canals is going to stay with DC United. And I know DC definitely don't want to lose Canals, who is a decent prospect defender that they feel like they can still continue to develop him until they can finally sell him off of a profit to Europe in the upcoming years. Tom Fox has stepped down as team president of the San Jose Earthquakes, and I kind of knew this was going to happen a couple of months ago. There was actually a unofficial news talk about how Tom Fox actually have stepped down as the team president of the San Jose Earthquakes, and that it actually only took today where it was officially announced that he is going to be resigning in that spot. And depending how you look at it, you could either look at this, as a Quakes fan, I could either look at this as a way of saying, well, it's good riddance that he is out of that job because he basically did a poor job in terms of his role with the club. I mean, during his time, he did give this team that one playoff appearance, but in some way it was kind of a little bit lucky. And the fact that he has made us not have a sponsor anymore on our jersey, and now we'll no longer have a sponsor in our stadium name, as I believe Avaya Stadium and Avaya will no longer be the sponsor of the stadium name. I think Avaya have officially declared that they are going to be out of business. I know Avaya did announce bankruptcy a couple of years ago, but it feels like maybe they're going to be liquefied, and that's why the Quake Stadium is no longer going to be called Avaya Stadium, or the fact that the contract just runs out, and now the Quakes will not only not have a sponsor for their kid, but they're not even going to have a sponsor for their stadium name, which, I think with that, I think we are one of the few clubs that actually don't have a sponsor name with our stadium, which, it could be good because that means at least you're seeing teams are not kind of being a sellout to try to get a sponsor to slap in their names, and that the owner can get extra money. But at the same time, you can also say that, well, that means that we just lost a lot of profit because of that, and that sponsorship that slaps into the stadium name actually does generate some money into the club itself. So, yeah, it's definitely tough time to be a Quakes fan right now, and you know, I don't want to say I am incredibly worried heading into this upcoming season. Well, as a Quakes fan, I had this feeling almost every single year, and even last season when we had probably one of the most exciting off season with the announcement of Almeida coming to manage our club and that he can get us from being bottom feeder to maybe make the playoffs. Every single year, it feels like there's not a lot of optimism for the Quakes heading into this upcoming season. And whenever they do have optimism, they will always make sure that it will crush you. So that's why, as much as I'm nervous about what the Quakes are going to be this year, and I'm worried that they're going to be back being basement dweller for this upcoming season, it is the way it is. And unless, we don't have a new ownership or the owner of our team doesn't sell our team, this is the thing that's going to happen. And I also have heard that there's been a couple of Fisher out. By the way, Fisher is our current owner, and there's been a couple of people that's been kind of doing the Fisher out protest, and I'm not really affiliate with any of the protests because I just feel like it's not going to do anything. Like, this whole, I feel like they probably watched too much Arsenal fan TV, and they saw how AFTV might have tried to do that, and even there, it didn't quite work as effective it is. So why do I think this, of course, would work? And it's not even like a majority of people. That maybe there's only like 40 or 50 fans that actually joined the movement, and I'm pretty sure the owner, when they see only like 50 people, and I remember there was even one time last year when they were actually protesting right in front of the Quakes office, it was kind of like there was only like 10 people there, and it just feels kind of in some ways, I kind of feel a little bit sorry for them because in some way they kind of feel a little bit stupid, the fact that there's only 10 people there and everybody just kind of walk by them and thinking, what the heck are they doing? And I'm assuming if the owner saw that and that they saw like there's only 10 people protesting, I don't think you even care at all. And in many ways, he just might as well just tell his security to kind of remove those people because it's kind of stupid in some way. So yeah, there's nothing we really can do. This is the frustrating part in terms of supporting a bad team, because you usually have an owner that refuses to sell the team, and there's really nothing us fans can do unless we really pressure him and he does the right thing to eventually sell the team. Speaking of stupid, the U.S. Soccer Federation is another team that it has a very stupid ownership and a very stupid kind of front office, and their stability actually got into the next level because they officially announced today that Anthony Hudson will be the U.S. U20 men's national team coach. Yes, it's the same Anthony Hudson that got fired from the Colorado Rapids, and it's the same Anthony Hudson that I'm pretty sure if you're a Rapids fan and you hear his name, the first thing you want to say is, thank the fuck that this guy is no longer the coach of our club, because he basically completely run this team to the ground and just pretty much put misery in our club for the short time that he managed our club. And now he is now managing the U20 team. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, as much as I'm very disappointed about this, I didn't expect anything different, considering this is the thing with the U.S. Soccer Federation, and I've been saying many times before how inept it is, and that despite the fact that we're kind of going through a new changes in the U.S. Soccer Federation with a couple of people taking in charge, these new people that taking in charge of the Soccer Federation seems like even worse than the last people that was in charge of it. And unless if we're going to have to do another reshuffle in this Soccer Federation, I am really worried about the national team in the future. And that this is also the reason why I kind of tweeted out that this team has really lost my fandom, and that there, like this year, I started to not like before a couple of years ago. I usually always watch U.S. men's national team, and I usually always keep up with the national team. These last couple of years, it's been the complete opposite, and that I'm not the only one that is the case. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in this country that love to watch soccer and love to either watch MLS or the Premier League or any European league overseas, that they can say that they started to lose some fandom and started to really don't care about the U.S. men's national team anymore because it's run by such an inept kind of front office that is right now with this federation. But finally, in terms of the last news that I'm going to talk about, and I'm gonna kind of end this on a positive note. I mean, I don't know if this is a positive news, but MLS is report to changing the DP rule to encourage teams to sign more young DP players so that they can sell for a profit. And I'm not even gonna get to the explanation of how are they changing the rules and the specific information about this new upgraded DP rule that they are proposing, because it's very, very complicated, and I would have a really hard time trying to explain. But what I will say is that this is part of the new CBA, which I know a lot of people has been talking about the CBA and how they're just waiting in terms of when it's going to be renewed, and that I'm also seeing some people are nervous the fact that it's not going to renew. I'm assuming eventually it would. I heard that the MLS PA actually met with the league official, and that they are obviously now working with the CBA, and hopefully in these next couple of days, when they get the right negotiation, then this CBA would be renewed, and that we won't have a possibility of a lockout. Like right now, I'm still not concerned the fact that there's going to be a lockout in MLS. This is not like the NBA and NHL, where I think things are not going to be pulled through but I will say this: if the CBA does not get renewed, and as the date does get closer to the beginning of the season, which I think this year, I don't know if, like, I know the CBA does expire, I think it's like right near the end of this month, but I'm assuming that they probably either think about extending the deadline or the fact that they'll just renew. And that I think we've seen before where we were getting very close in terms of the CBA not being renegotiate, or not renegotiate, but kind of extend it, or just extend it in some way. I don't know why I say re-extend it there, but I know that we had times when that happens, and we were able to see the CBA to finally get the negotiation done, and it will now be, the expired day will now push to another day, and it gets renewed, and I'm expecting it could be the same case again heading into this season, and that there will be no lockout, and no worry about the season potentially be shortened because of the current collective bargain agreement not being reached. But either way, hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of all these news, and as usual, if I missed some important news that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.